Humans are one of the only species on Earth that routinely spends the majority of its waking life folded in half. Think about your day so far. You sit to eat breakfast, you sit in a car or a train on the way to work, you sit at a desk for 8 hours, and then you go home to sit on a couch. For millions of years, the human body was built to move across vast landscapes. Then we invented the modern chair and asked our skeletons to freeze. We take this posture for granted. It looks comfortable, it looks productive, it looks normal. But if you look at the whole timeline of human existence, this level of stillness is a bizarre modern anomaly. For 99% of our history, humans didn't sit in chairs. They walked, squatted, knelt, or stood. So how did we end up parked on our glutes for 12 hours a day? It wasn't a sudden upgrade in human comfort. It involves a massive evolutionary trap, a historical shift during the Industrial Revolution, where chairs became a weapon of discipline and a quiet biological crisis happening inside your cells right now. To understand how we got here, you have to look at the incredible endurance machine built right into our anatomy. Millions of years ago, our ancestors abandoned the trees and stood up. To survive in a world full of faster, stronger predators, we specialized in one specific superpower: walking and running long distances under the hot sun. Our feet developed spring-like arches, our legs grew long and packed with slow-twitch muscle fibers, and our glutes became massive powerhouses designed to stabilize us while moving upright. In fact, early human tribes didn't outrun prey with raw speed. They used persistence hunting, literally walking and jogging after animals for hours until the prey collapsed from exhaustion. Our ancestors were perpetual motion machines. But this active lifestyle was not a lonely struggle. Just like birth, our daily movement was deeply communal. Prehistoric tribes moved together across enormous landscapes, tracking game, foraging for tubers, and carrying children. When they rested, they didn't collapse into padded seats. They sat on the ground, squatting or kneeling around campfires, which kept their core muscles engaged and their joints flexible. Experienced elders walked alongside young hunters, sharing stories and tracking patterns on the move. For thousands of generations, collective, daily movement wasn't exercise, it was just the fundamental tax of being alive, until civilization began overriding instinct. The shift away from an active life began with agriculture, but the modern obsession with sitting truly exploded during the Industrial Revolution. Before factories, chairs were actually rare luxury items reserved for kings, religious leaders, and the ultra-wealthy, a literal seat of power. Most ordinary people worked on their feet in fields or workshops. But as the world shifted to factories and offices, capitalism realized it had a problem. People moving around are harder to manage, monitor, and standardize. To maximize efficiency, early industrial architects realized they needed to anchor workers to a specific spot. Factories needed workers who stayed still, stayed quiet, and repeated the same movement thousands of times a day. The mass-produced, cheap wooden chair became the ultimate tool for workplace discipline. We took human beings who evolved to roam miles of wilderness and forced them to sit in neat, quiet rows for 10 hours a day. Because office work and education copied the factory model, sitting flat at a desk quickly became a status symbol of modern intelligence and professionalism. Now we look back at old factory conditions and see the obvious physical toll, but a much bigger silent shift was happening to our desk workers. Society began to treat the human body as a brain transportation device, a machine that only needed to exist from the neck up. And slowly, the convenience of the modern office replaced the biology of the human animal. But what happens when you turn a biological process sideways? For a modern worker, sitting down feels like a relief. Now imagine what is actually happening under the surface as your body is pinned at a strict 90-degree angle under fluorescent lights. The moment your glutes hit a chair cushion, the electrical activity in your leg muscles dramatically drops. Your metabolic activity sharply declines, and the enzymes responsible for breaking down fats and clearing sugars from your bloodstream plummet. Worse, by keeping your hips permanently flexed, your hamstrings and hip flexors tighten and shorten, pulling your pelvis out of alignment and throwing a brutal mechanical strain onto your lower back. Your spine, which evolved to behave like a flexible, shock-absorbing spring, is forced to crush under the constant, unyielding pressure of your upper body weight. We took an active, upright creature and folded it into a passive shape, immobilizing our metabolism on a seat. To be completely fair, the modern office world has built the modern world. The shift to desk work allowed for the explosion of technology, global communication, and the very digital age we live in right now. Comfort and safety are not the enemy here, but in our pursuit of productivity and ease, we accidentally reshaped our daily lives, completely ignoring the way human bodies evolved to function. The good news is, a quiet revolution is finally happening. People are increasingly waking up to the dangers of the sedentary trap. Standing desks, walking pads, and active workspaces are returning to modern offices, letting people break the rigid habits of the last 2 centuries. Our world will never go back to persistence hunting across the savannah. Modern life requires us to look at screens. But as biology catches up with modern lifestyle design, we are finally realizing that sometimes the greatest health advancement we can make is just standing up and letting our bodies do what they were born to do. This isn't the only time modern convenience took a basic human instinct and completely broke it for the sake of efficiency. If you want to see how we did the exact same thing to the way we bring new life into the world, click on this video right here, where we break down why humans aren't supposed to give birth lying down. See you there.